Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective. With my boy John Tran. We're going to break down the USC game a little bit more in depth today, as well as going into TCU. Tough opponent this week. First off, I want to get John's thoughts on his game day experience. He had the opportunity to go to his second game in a row this week at USC, against USC. Just wanted to get your overall thoughts. It looked like an amazing stadium experience.
Yeah, the stadium was electric. I know that everyone who saw it on TV said that this stadium is electric, word for word. You know, I don't want to use the same wording, but it was. I haven't seen the stadium that involved in the game since the mid 2000s. You know, I think that I didn't get to go to the Notre Dame game, so everyone was saying that the Notre Dame game was kind of similar to this, but the last one I remember it being like this was Ohio State, and it wasn't even to this extent because it wasn't a night game. The student section was filled out. They opened the doors an hour and a half earlier than normal, and it was packed out. And
student section, look, it was jumping. And credit to, again, Chris Del Conte, as well as Tom Herman for their involvement with the student body. Credit to the students for showing up. Mm-hmm. It's been complained about a lot how they handled the student entry into the game and whatnot. They've made those adjustments, made it more accessible to the students, and their presence was felt. So USC, man, great win for Texas, getting over the hump. A lot of doubters, many of us questioning Tom Herman these last couple weeks. After an underwhelming Tulsa performance, they come out and really dominate USC, shutting them out the last three quarters. What are some players that really stood out to you that you want to talk about here?
Well, first one I want to call out is Sam Ehlinger. I think we found ourselves a quarterback. He definitely controlled the game. He was composed. When he needed to get rid of the ball, he got rid of the ball. He made one of the best passes I've seen in his young career. I think it was 3rd and 12 in the second quarter where he had to roll out, and on the run he hit in stride
Humphrey
for a conversion on that, which I know it's only 12, 13 yards, but people don't understand how hard it is. You can even watch the normal person who try to throw and hit the target at halftime. They can't even hit the target.
Right.
To do that while running, being chased by someone, it's actually a pretty difficult throw. And he took care of the ball. He was under composed, and he was just a great quarterback for this game. From that point on, I would definitely call out a couple of defensive players we called out that needed to show up.
Chris Boyd, great game, good job. He did, he caught a ball this week, wrestled away, very impressive interception. I had called out Gary Johnson. I was very underwhelmed with him the first couple of weeks. Now he's Big 12 Player of the Week, many tackles behind the line of scrimmage. I felt like he brought that infectious energy that we saw from him last season, and it carried over to the whole defense. Charles Omenihu woke up. Brecken Hager woke up. Mm-hmm. And I know not everybody got a sack per se, but just the pressure that they were able to start generating on JT Daniels, making him uncomfortable. Because the beginning of the game was a little frustrating. I understand they were trying to still fill out what USC was trying to do. There was a couple blitz calls that came from maybe the wrong angle, but we got it cleaned up. Second quarter moving forward. I addressed in my recap video on Saturday, people need to stop crying about the safety, okay? Look, that was probably the one bad decision that Sam Ehlinger made, holding on to the ball. But bad calls happen. You have to be able to move forward and show mental toughness. USC proceeded to make mistake after mistake after mistake following that play instead of taking advantage of the situation that they were in, and they ended up getting blown out. Mm-hmm. That's not on Texas. So while I admit the call was incorrect, you have to move on to the next play. Fortunately, Texas was able to get their 900th win in school history. You saw a pretty cool little tribute while you were there. I don't think we saw on TV.
Probably one of the loudest ovations that I saw, aside from the blocked field goal return, was at the beginning of the game, they showed the first game USC and Texas ever played. And I was thrown off by it because they were talking about how USC completely dominated Texas and the running back ran for 250 yards. Well, it turns out that running back was the first black guy to ever play at Texas Stadium. It's not DK. It wasn't DKR back then, of course, but at Texas Stadium. And they actually flew him out to the game with another player for Texas and introduced them both. They shook hands. And it was just a good story. And when they announced the USC player, that's the first time I think I've ever heard an opposing player cheered louder than the actual home team player. So it was just a good story to start the game off with.
That's first class. That's first class, guys. And this program, we want to be proud of our program and what they represent on and off the field. So he shared that with me, and I wanted him to share that experience with you guys because. Just you sharing that with me secondhand is very touching. Hopefully somebody has a video or something out there of that tribute. So, other guys that our freshmen are still balling out. BJ Foster killed a man.
Well, yeah, a lot of people aren't talking about that play. We were up 30 was it 30?
Were we already up 37?
I don't know if we had scored the final touchdown or not, but we were just lackadaisical. I think it was by plan, letting him chip away at yards, get in and just tackle in space and make them kill out the clock just to end the game. But we were just, it was just quiet. That it had been quiet for about 5-10 minutes of the gameplay, and then when that happened, that people went nuts, and it lit up the defense. It lit up the sidelines.
I didn't mind him getting kicked out. I know.
By definition, it is targeting. Actually, both of the targeting were by definition targeting, but I think they were actually good football players. But I'm from a different era. But it was definitely a good play, and it was shocking to me to see him just get depleted like that by a young freshman.
There were some good takeaways. Like, you have to have enforcers like that on a great defense. And B.J. Foster is going to be one of those enforcers. Another guy who hasn't played yet that I think has the potential to be like that too is Overshawn. He's also going to be a big hitter. Tom Herman said in his press conference this week that he's still probably a week or two away. I'm very excited to see him, especially with the linebacking core is still light. We're going to get some other guys back. Deli still we still have to check him out too. Anthony Cook from a cornerback.
He did play a couple snaps.
He got to play, made a couple open field tackles. So guys are starting to pick it up. I want to talk about the offense a little bit because they did have a better showing today. And Sam Ehlinger, you talked about him earlier. A lot of people came on the channel and were like, well, he only completed 50% of his passes and a lot of that. Look, you have to manage the offense. And one thing I said, even on some of the deep balls where he wasn't necessarily the most sharpest or accurate, he at least was making the right read. He didn't hesitate and fired to Devin Duvernay or Colin Johnson or LJ Humphrey. That's what you need from the quarterback position, especially in this offense. Because if you're able to challenge vertically, that run game will show up. Our offensive line got into a good rhythm. Trey Watson did an excellent job considering he had to hold on a little bit more, carry more of the weight with Keontae Ingram being out. Hopefully we get him back soon too. We're going to need that brother against Oklahoma and K-State. But do we know if – I don't think Ingram's going to play this week.
I
doubt it.
I don't think so.
But we'll get into that versus TCU. But I was really pleased with their execution was a lot better. I thought they called a good game when they got ahead. I think maybe this is a team where they just need to get ahead a little bit, get some confidence and rhythm even as a coaching staff, and they'll call a great game. But Sam Ehlinger, to your point, check this into some plays. That's why I'm not looking. It's all about the decisions, checking us to runs. Quarterback run game was very timely. Made a lot of plays. Just like that's why I said in that video after he led this football team. That's what we need.
Yeah, and the only thing I could add on to that is that the way that you need to see his progression go is that right now he's only choosing his first read. He's only choosing his first read. He's eyeing down option number one, not going through his progression. Once he does that, you're going to see how good this kid can be.
He'll develop. Yes, I agree.
And when the first read is not available, he takes off right now. But there was a couple times where there was a post over the middle to, I think it was Devin Duvernay, that was wide open for a touchdown. He didn't read that because he saw read option number 1 was LJ on the wheel route, and he didn't throw it to LJ. He rolled out and tried to make a play.
I said something in the recap video. I think LJ Humphrey's the best player on the team. Do you agree or disagree with that?
The team or the offense?
I would say the team. I was like, in terms of this season, I think LJ Humphrey's probably been our MVP thus far. He's had a great game all 3 weeks. Statistically, he's actually one of the top receivers in the Big 12. He's catching a lot of balls. He's making, because he's breaking tackles and running in for touchdowns. He's made a lot of plays, and I just felt like his presence, he's developed an obvious chemistry with Sam Ehlinger, which is very important. I can tell Sam trusts him. He feels very comfortable when he's throwing the ball. For whatever reason, he hasn't developed that same connection with Duvernay. Because the ball he threw to Joshua Moore was a great ball.
Oh, yeah, it was great.
That was a great ball.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, he just hasn't. I don't know if Duvernay's just so fast that it's just hard to get him timed up. But I really do think LJ Humphrey so far has been the MVP of our football team. Because defensively, Caden Stearns would be up there. There's some guys that are playing well, on the back end, but we haven't put together, the defense has been a little inconsistent. Going into TCU, we have this is the second leg of this huge 4-game stretch. TCU, I actually got a chance to watch a lot of their game against Ohio State. High-level football game those guys played. TCU was leading at halftime. Ohio State made some adjustments. It became really a shootout. I think they won 40-35. Both quarterbacks were over 300 yards passing. Running back had a 95-yard run. Darius Anderson, who seemed, he ate us up the last couple of years. So what are your just thoughts going into TCU, knowing the momentum that we have coming out of USC? But I think we both agree that USC is not that good right now.
Yeah,
they got the athletes, but they
were
weren't
a little overrated coming into this game. That's neither here nor there. But the thing is, TCU always plays us well. Gary Patterson always schemes for us well. I think
When's
a couple
the last
of
time
years
we beat
ago
TCU?
he even said something about they're on paper the best team, but they're not the best team. Something to that point. But we haven't beaten TCU since, like you said, was Tyrone Swoops.
2013, when Mac Brown infamously burned his red shirt at the end of the game. So that's a long time ago. I don't even know if I think I had just moved to Texas the last time we beat TCU. And we haven't even really been competitive against TCU, to be honest with you. I think all these games have been blowouts. There hasn't been a close TCU game. Even
the closest one I could think of was probably Thanksgiving about 3 years ago, where we were playing with them all the way to the third quarter.
That was the case. That was when David Ash, I think, was still. Was he
no,
still?
It wasn't David Ash.
It wasn't David Ash.
I don't know, but they were. Our defense was holding them. We just couldn't move.
We couldn't move the ball. I think that was Case McCoy then. One of those people was in there. I do remember that because I went to that game. Mm-hmm. But TCU, we had like the 50-3 game.
Yeah.
They came here and beat us after we lost to Kansas. Kenny Hill ran all over the place. So what jumps off the paper right now, guys, with TCU is we're going to have to deal with their offense. And I know TCU, Gary Patterson, being the defensive maestro that he is, TCU's going to put up points. Bottom line, their wide receiving core played amazing last week against a good Ohio State secondary. And guys were going up making plays, high pointing the football. They were throwing 50-yard bombs, left and right, going toe-to-toe with Ohio State. I am worried about our young DBs because we will leave them out there. We're going to try to get pressure on Shawn Robinson because the one thing about Shawn Robinson is we can't turn him over. Mm-hmm. He has made some mistakes. Every game,
SMU turned him over about
SMU
3 times.
Turned him over.
Like
I think Ohio State was able to get a fumble for a touchdown, so they were able to generate some heat on him. We have to make him
and he is a young
second guess.
Still.
He's a young quarterback, but we have to do what we did with JT Daniels. One of the things I noticed about JT Daniels was he started, at first when we weren't getting heat on him, he got comfortable and got into a rhythm. And he was making really easy reads, guys running shallow crosses and whatnot for 30 yards. But when we really ramped up that pressure, he started doing this and hitching. And once you start hitching, that's when you throw a pick. That's when your arm gets hit, all sorts of stuff. Now, I'm really concerned with Shawn Robinson in the quarterback run game. Reason being, Kenny Hill tore us up. Every year we've had issues with these guys. Now, I do believe Todd Orlando will have a good scheme in place to account for some of that. But their scheme, it's either quarterback run game or they're throwing the ball downfield or and they have their bubble screen stuff. Very diverse offense. And I still didn't mention Darius Anderson running the football in between there. Like I said, he broke off a 90-yarder. And our defense has been known at times to miss a couple tackles and guys take off. So we have to be on our P's and Q's this week in that regard. I actually do think we're, offensively, I think we can make some money this week against the TCU defense, because I think you were even telling me before we started the video, their corners are kind of small.
And they play a lot of man. They play a lot of man to man. And we have, like you said, LJ is your guy right there.
So how would you attack them?
If they line up one-on-one Colin Johnson, I'm throwing it every time. Go make a play. Go make a play. You're 6'5" over the tallest, I think, defensive back we saw was 6 foot.
Yeah.
Every play, moss that guy every single time. And I think Baylor did that a couple of years ago to them, and that was that
big shootout. Yeah,
so
with 61-58. Yeah.
And
they repeatedly.
You can't change size. I mean, and his size is just unmatched by their defense. That's what I do. I mean,
TCU is also a little hot. There was a story that came out this week, not on Texas's side, but one of the CBS reporters, Barton Simmons, I believe, came out and said they're a roster full of rejects. And Gary Patterson, and obviously he's going to use that to stir the pot, saying that he's recruiting low star guys, and they weren't getting offers from other schools. It's I don't know why he picked Texas week to come out with this nonsense, but nonetheless, I do think playing at home is going to be an advantage for us. Weather maybe, I think weather might be an issue.
It's supposed to rain all day tomorrow, which will be Friday and Saturday, and it's a earlier game too, which could be a factor too. Texas has only played.
Yeah, it's not a night game. Yeah, so we're 3:30. I think 3:30 kickoff. So,
but you're playing another top 25 team, and they've dominated you for the past 4 years. You should come ready to play. Hopefully the fans come out again, because I do think that the fans did mess with JT Daniels' head a little bit. I think he was a little bit deer in headlights when we scored. I think 17 straight against them, and
I think our fans can be a present, but the Ohio State people showed up big time, and I think they actually affected Shawn Robinson, to your point, a little bit. Even last week. So we'll have some opportunities to really, when we get them backed up. I think special teams is going to be very important. Turpin.
Turpin, not just on special teams, though.
Just all over, yes. But all over. I think when I say special teams, I'm talking about preventing the big play, because they've had that on us in the past. As whether it's blocking a field goal, returning a kick for a touchdown,
right?
Have to be buttoned up on all that stuff. Our kicking game, obviously, we feel confident about Dicker the kicker. I talked at length about how happy I am that we finally have a field goal kicker. But punt game, I'm worried about. I am worried about punt game. USC got really close to blocking Dixon's cousin a couple times. I am worried, and I know Gary Patterson's going to install a punt block. Just,
You'll see it. You'll see them come for a punt block.
So those are concerns. What are your just thoughts, predictions for Saturday?
I feel that it's going to be a lower scoring game than people think it's going to be. I think both teams are coming off of an emotional game. Both of them were. TCU was playing Ohio State. Texas was playing USC. both of them. It's really hard to get teenagers and young 20-year-olds up for 2 games. I mean,
and both of them, like you said, both of them coming off.
Yeah, they're both coming off that, and I just don't see that they're not going to be focused or anything, but I think that it's not that it won't be the same atmosphere that they were dealing with last week, and at first they'll be feeling each other out and going through the motions, and then you'll see the offense pick up in the second, third, and then you'll see defense kick in again in the fourth quarter. So I don't know. I see it in the high 20s game. I don't see it to be 40.
Do you think it's going to be a close game? You think Texas is going to win or TCU?
I think that TCU is probably going to win this game, honestly. I think that they're very Sonny Cumbie's really good at scheming against opposing defenses, and I think getting Turpin on a linebacker is going to be, if we can cover Turpin with a linebacker or with a nickel.
It's going to have
corner,
to be one of the nickels of the safeties, like a Cadence.
I think that's our best option, but it's just I think they have too many weapons in there.
I think depending on weather, and how the whole situation is, I think it's going to play into the score. I do have TCU winning as well. I just think they're a better football team at this point in the season right now. A lot of that, they had a really good opportunity to beat Ohio State, and I think we're going to put some points on the board. But Sam Ehlinger, no disrespect to him, he's not Dwayne Haskins. Dwayne Haskins figured it out because they were giving him problems, all those guys and some of the creative blitzes, but Haskins was able to make some really NFL tight window throws. I don't know if we're going to be asking a lot of Sam Ehlinger, especially if TCU starts to put together, 3 or 4 touchdown drives. I think that's going to be a lot to ask. Now, before the season, I did say in this 4-game stretch, I thought we would split it. So, that would mean we go 2-2. Right now, we're 1-0 in this stretch. So I think we'll be 1-1 after this week going into K-State. But Texas can't win this football game. This is not a doom and gloom conversation. This is just us objectively as guys who are watching these games, and grading this Texas team right now. And I think if we're competitive and we put out a good product and TCU is just a better football team on Saturday, I don't think I can be vehemently upset with Tom Herman and the coaching staff, because they did do a very good job of getting the kids ready and getting kids up for USC. I want to see those kids up and ready to go for TCU. If they lose because they got beat, they got beat. But if we start seeing stuff like we start the game off with a delay of game penalty, or we're getting penalties on offensive pass interference, shooting ourselves, beating ourselves. A lot of these things that we saw against Maryland, I think that's when the volume on Tom Herman. I don't know if you saw Tim Beck at the press conference. He was smiling like a Cheshire cat, feeling good. So that's what Tom Herman said. Texas is the best place and the toughest place, depending on what week it is after a win. So I think depending on the effort, because it seems to be right now it's week to week with Tom Herman and some of you fans. Some people have just decided they're all the way out. Some people are justified in their criticism. I think I've been more critical of Tom than you have. But he has a chance. Now, if you pull off this TCU win, because neither of us are picking Texas, if you pull off this TCU win, you're steering the ship back. And I think he'll win more fans back. If you're beating a team that you haven't beat since, 2013? That's righting the ship back. That's getting Texas back to where it needs to be and establishing ourselves in our conference opener. That's the other thing. This is the first Big 12 game. He talks about going 1-0. What better way to build belief to your kids by going 1-0 in the Big 12? Because they say their main goal is to win, win the conference.
Yep.
So I think they have a shot. I do think they'll come up short, just objectively speaking. But anything else you want to add in regards to TCU or just the perception of the coaching staff right now?
confidence is key, man. If they come out confident to play, you could see a different team. You could see the team that was just dominating USC. Yes, USC we said was overrated, but yet they still do have athletes on both sides of the ball. I mean, we've been told that we have that and we got beat like that too.
Right.
But everyone still gives
Right.
the other teams credit for beating us because we have those athletes. So that win could be a confidence booster enough to say, hey, we can do it. We can beat these teams. And we are playing at home. There's weather. I mean, things can happen. And then if you win that game, you have that confidence to go up to K-State and win, and then possibly
that would be huge confidence booster going to Manhattan.
4-1 heading into Oklahoma weekend. And that right there, I think, would be the play-in game for one of the spots of the Big 12 championship, personally, I think, because after that, it's
a little. I mean, they still have West Virginia, but it would be a little bit more breathing room in
West
the
Virginia
conference.
and Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I mean, so again, it's week to week. I want to see whether we win or I'm looking for consistency.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for guys that have been playing well to continue playing well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for Sam Ehlinger to get better. Like right now, I do see him making, steps in the right direction each week, learning from previous mistakes. Now I want to see him throw the football away, when he, not running around the back of your own end zone. You get one chance on that mistake, but not the repeated things. I also looking to see who's going to step up in the place of Malcolm Roach. It's one thing we didn't cover yet. Was his injury out 6 to 8 weeks. What's their plan? I know they have Delhi coming in and they can do some things with Hager on the outside because they used Hager, I think, a little bit better this week of letting him stand up and rush from the outside. So those are some things too. Looking to see Gary Johnson continue on his momentum. All these things, will play a factor in how we perform against TCU, but we're excited for it. I think we're going to watch the game together this week.
Yep.
So we'll have a immediate, emotional post-game recap.
Hopefully it's happy
because this week was a good week, man.
It was.
Felt good to be a Texas fan in Austin. Felt good to hear from you guys in the comments. So many of you guys went to the game. So, here we are. We're almost at 1,500 subscribers. So everybody that's subscribing and liking the channel, sharing it, we appreciate it. We'll continue to do these videos, but I think that's it.
Yep.
Over and out. Hook 'em.